It's been a long time since I've made any videos or anything like this, so kind of getting just kind of finding my mindset. Hey guys, today I wanted to show a knife I got for Christmas, which was the this knife, the Mora Garberg, which is the knife I pretty much ranted and complained about in one of my more popular videos, where I was just out in the woods before I had put my hands on the knife, kind of complaining about it and the price and stuff. Disclaimer, I did not buy this knife for myself. In that video I said I would never pay $80 for it. That still stands true. My friend asked me what I wanted for Christmas at one point, and I basically told him, there's this, and this. You get me this knife. If you really want to spend like a lot of money on a gift, you could get me that. That's something I would be interested in having. And I also told him, if I don't expect you to get that, just get me some duct tape. But he actually got me this knife in the multi-mount set. We're going to talk about the sheath. We're going to talk about the knife. Again, I've used this for 3 or 4 days, just cutting some wood. This isn't a review. This is just kind of initial thoughts after a little bit of use. And it's kind of surprised me in some regards, and in other regards it's kind of let me down. So first, let's talk about the sheath really quick. I have my regular, this is the Mora Companion heavy duty. Yeah, I believe that's what it's called. It's not the robust. Yeah, Mora Companion heavy duty, or Mora Companion HD. Has a 3.2 millimeter spine. Stupid birds. Anywho, 3.2 millimeter spine. It's kind of a narrow blade. Has a really good bushcraft tip. Actually, let me go grab something real quick. Alright, I just wanted to go and grab the spoon I made, and I made it exclusively with this knife. I didn't use any sort of specialized tools. I just used this knife to make both the concavity for the actual spoon part. I didn't use like a hook knife where you kind of scoop it out like scooping ice cream. I just basically made this out of a kind of crappy piece of wood. I'm not sure exactly what wood it was, but I think it came out okay. I sanded it, so it's pretty smooth, but you can kind of see, it's a decent spoon. The point I'm getting at is I made it with this knife, and this tip was really good at removing material. Even though it doesn't have much of a belly, you take the Garberg, you can kind of see that, yeah, the tips are a little bit different. This one has, the Garberg has a very pronounced belly right here, so it's a very broad sweep. I tried to actually make a spoon to see if I could make a spoon with this and then make a spoon with this, compare. So after about 5 minutes, I didn't really feel it was safe, and it wasn't very enjoyable to try to make this concavity in a piece of wood with the Garberg, because the point on it just did not penetrate very well, and it was just kind of a nightmare, and I was kind of slipping all over, so I decided it was kind of not very safe, and it was not enjoyable. Now this knife has also a more narrow blade. You're just gonna see it's gonna cut. It has better cutting geometry. Again, that the tip is better for things I was doing, making the spoon. It was a lot more controlled. All these different things. We're gonna talk about that. I do want to get to the sheath really quick and just get that out of the way. Companion sheath. Basically, I put a paracord wrap I found on YouTube, so I just kind of mimicked that, and I think it kind of looks woodsy. It's got brown paracord with green sheath. I like this. This is the knife I take in the woods. I don't go in the woods that much anymore. I kind of set like a little, I have like a wood stump and firewood. So I have a little kind of backyard camp that I basically just sit at a chair and carve wood, whittle different things like the spoon I made. But if I do go out in the woods, this is the knife I'm generally going to bring. Okay, then we get to the sheath for the Garberg. Let's talk about some pros and cons for each. A pro with this, it does have this hook, so you can pretty much clip this onto belt, a bag, backpack. You can clip this onto a variety of things. I usually just clip it onto my waistband. You don't have to wear a belt. You can clip this into the inside of a pocket and just have it hang. It's very simple. Downside is that's all you get. It's just vertical. There is no horizontal or upside down carry, so you're kind of, you know, SOL'd on that one. You know, but the other thing is, the downside is that it's just right-hand carry. There's no left-hand carry. So, if you're left-handed, I'm very sorry, but you're also kind of screwed because now you have specifically a right-handed sheath. Now, a huge upgrade to this is that it's super inexpensive. So if you spend $20 on this knife, it's a really good knife. You can go get another sheath for maybe another, you know, 20, 30 bucks. And the thing is, the blades are so inexpensive, you can just keep use that same sheath and just switch the knives out, keep putting them in that sheath. It's very cost effective that way. So, yes, this might not be the best sheath. The knife's 15, 20 bucks. You can get another sheath, and it will still come out cheaper than the Garberg. That being said, let's take a look and try to be objective. I'm not trying to really criticize the Garberg a whole lot. Garberg has this sheath. I'm just going to take the loop off. The Garberg, it comes in two sheaths. I can't speak for the leather. I have seen the leather. I've never held it in person or anything, but it looks very well made. It's kind of expensive to get the leather sheath. So if you like leather, I personally don't think leather really would go with this knife because there's no wood. It's very tactical. Yeah, this knife, it feels very synthetic. It doesn't have any wood components, so having a leather sheath would kind of be weird. Kind of like wearing, I don't know. It's kind of like when you dress, when you like wear cowboy boots with a suit or something like that. I don't know. Multi-mount, which is a plastic sheath. It goes in both right hand. You can hear that click. And it also goes in left-handed. This is a lot like the Mora 2000. I have used the Mora 2000. I don't own one, but I do like that knife, and I think I'm going to get to a knife just like this one, but that I think overall is going to be much better in terms of things that a lot of people are going to want to do with the knife. Alright, so back to the sheath. Again, has good retention. You can definitely chuck this out. Like if you try to carry this upside down, you're going to have some problems. And that brings us to the multi-mount actual setup they've created. Now, you get this it's kind of like a ramp, sled ramp kind of thing that this goes into. And the idea with this is that basically Mora's trying to give you a lot of different options. Mora's trying to give you a lot of various options with the sheath, which I think is good. This is definitely a huge upgrade from the crappy Pathfinder sheath that was nylon. Like, nobody wants that. It sucked. And obviously they're back to square one with plastic sheaths, which is what they've been doing for pretty much all the time they've been making knives, I guess. But this is probably one of the better sheaths I've seen. It has a lot of different options. Now, are you going to use these options? That's up to you. But I think it is nice that they give you all these various options. The first option, again, you can just carry this with the sheath. Maybe you're just going to put it in a bag. There you go. Now, if you want it to be more secure, they give you this retention strap. The way it works, basically you just slides there, and it does snap into place. You hear that? It's a very nice click. mean, it takes some force to get it back off. So it does click, and basically this goes over and it snaps. Now, I've seen a lot of reviews and people say this is great. You might have, well, I'll just kind of give it away. If you're walking through the woods and you're carrying this, like on a molly vest, or trying to carry it horizontally in a belt, like scout style, this will happen. You catch on a branch, and it can come off. Again, it didn't come off that easily. I just got it, so maybe when you break it in, I think that's kind of a bad design. I think what they should have done is put like kind of a groove. Again, this hammer pommel thing wouldn't be as great, but it would kind of help it to slot in and stay. Another thing, another YouTuber I watched, Spartan Johns, he got this knife also as a gift, I think for Christmas as well. He said that it was chewing up his safety strap because the spine is sharp, but also this pommel is sharp. Hear that? It is very sharp. It strikes a ferro rod very good. You don't really end up using that feature a whole lot to scrape because you have a whole spine, so I don't really understand. So I might actually file that off as well, like he did, because it will chew through the safety strap. I've only had this for 3-4 days, but I've used this strap pretty much exclusively. I haven't tried the belt loop yet because I haven't really gone anywhere to justify putting it on a belt. So that's kind of two downsides. I do commend them for trying something new. I think it is a good overall idea and concept, but again, I think that they should have, that's just kind of sketchy how it can come off so easily. You might not know that. You might see that the strap is still connected and the knife falls out and you think, oh, well, it's still in there, and it's not. So that's one option, and again, basically this is supposed to kind of go with this, so you slip this part through the sheath, and you can mount this like ramp to backpack strap, or a canoe or something like that. So basically you can kind of take the knife out or whatever. You can have this knife strapped to somewhere and it just feeds through. And they also give you all these kind of crappy Velcro straps. I threw those away as soon as I got it. I kept this one for the review when I eventually get to making a review this, and also for this just initial discussion. But that's kind of crap. Get some zip ties, get some strap ties, paracord, 550 cord, Velcro. It's just cheap Velcro. Literally, I found this. You can get this at Walmart. So if you really like Velcro and you lose this, it's just kind of crappy Velcro. So will I ever use this setup? Probably not, because I don't really care for it. And again, I'm not really sure who this knife is for. When you think about it, it's supposed to be kind of a... They're marketing it as a whole bunch of different things, it seems. But the other... Before I get into that, the other thing, you can take this off. Take that strap off, and they do give you like a Mora 2000 style belt loop. Trucks. Again, this just goes on, snaps. Now I would probably use this. This is Mora 2000 style, and if I do carry this in the woods a lot, I'll definitely use that. The downside to this, they don't give you like the Mora Bushcraft Black. That sheath was plastic, and it was pretty good. The thing I did like about that is they give you a loop style that like snapped in, and they give you a clip, which I use the clip more. So now I'm going to have to wear a belt in order to do this, or rig something else. So that's kind of a pain. Those are the sheaths. Take it as what you will. I mean, there's pros and cons to both the companion and the sheath. Nobody buys the knife for the sheath, but the thing I wanted to mention, if you don't like the leather sheath and you opt to get this, you want to get a different sheath, that is going to be very expensive, because this knife, I checked on Amazon, I'm not sure what my friend paid, but right now this is like $80 to get this set up. So basically you'd be saying, okay, $80 for the knife, maybe another $30, $25, $30 for a sheath. And again, that's not going to be cost effective over time, because if you can't really keep replacing this, because it's not $20 like a companion. Which brings us to actually the knives themselves. Pros and cons of these knives. Pros, this one is a much better carver. I'm kind of losing light out here, so I'm going to be straight up. It's just, I'm not going to dilly-dally. This knife is a much better carver. This is not a bushcraft knife. It's not. In my opinion, my humble opinion of doing woodworking and using knives for a long time, this is not a bushcraft knife. I'm not a bushcrafter, but making a spoon gives you a lot of perspective on what kind of, that's just starting to get into bushcraft. I cannot imagine making a spoon with this, because I tried and it was a nightmare. The tip, it's just not designed. The narrow blade, the tip of this knife, everything about this companion basically makes it good as a bushcraft carving knife and just an overall knife. Again, you can get this in a variety of options, $20. Alright, went and turned the light on. What was I saying? So basically, this knife is pretty good overall knife. Again, if you're not going to be splitting wood, doing a lot of harsh tasks with a knife, if you need something to cut, this is going to be good. If you want stainless steel, you can get it in stainless steel. The handle has a rubberized grip, it's very grippy, and this knife is a good overall knife for the average consumer, and a lot of bushcraft people use them, and they love Mora knives. And the reason it's so cheap, the reason you can replace the sheath, these are all factors of why the knives from Mora sell so good and have such a good reputation. Now, I used to be a declared full tang advocate. If it wasn't full tang, it wasn't good enough. After using the companion for a number of years, using Mora companion in stainless, I don't have those full tang I don't have to have it full tang. If it's full tang, fine. But that's neither an added bonus for me. That's just kind of what it is. This knife is full tang, so if you like that, you're gonna like this knife, but maybe not. Let's talk about who this knife is for first, before I get into the specific features, because I do not know who the heck this knife is for. This knife was marketed as a survival knife, a tactical knife, and for the average consumer, and just an outdoorsman overall knife. Yikes. I think this knife just bit off more than it can chew. It feels like this knife is a jack-of-all-trades knife, right? So we'll call him Jack. So Jack kind of has an identity crisis. He doesn't really know what he's supposed to do. He doesn't know what his purpose is in the world. He's kind of slipping into dark, nihilistic thoughts. What's the point, really? He's too big to really, and too large of a blade to really do small, very delicate, minute carving tasks. But again, he's not big enough to do heavy chopping, he's not heavy enough for the heavy chopping, and he's not long enough really to be a good batoning splitting knife. Again, he's full tang, but do you really need that? So you get a lot of these people, all these downers, telling poor Jack here, you're not worth it, buddy. You're not worth anything. And then you get all these people who are trying to, really amp up Jack, telling him he's the best, and trying to justify the fact that they bought him. Because now they're stuck with it. And if they go back and try to return it, now they're kind of, going to make themselves look bad. So Jack is kind of the friend, kind of the companion, no pun intended, that it's kind of like the friend in the group that nobody really, it's like, oh yeah, and then you get that friend in the group, and you see the group start changing, you realize, oh, that friend isn't really the best, maybe he's kind of always negative, and he just kind of doesn't really do anything, and you're just going to keep him there because of guilt. That's kind of what I was thinking about, is that this knife has no purpose. I mean, you can do pretty much a lot of stuff with this knife, but it's not really designed for a specific purpose. You can use this pretty much any outdoor thing. It's cheap. If you don't like it, fine. This knife, $20, freaking $80, okay? $80 for this knife. A knife that, this is just my opinion, does not know what it's supposed to do. Let's go through these things, okay? First of all, as a survival knife, I would say, sure, it's passable as a survival knife. It reminds me a lot of the Falkneven F1. If you look at the Falkneven F1, it has a rubberized grip, which we will get to the grip in a bit. Again, this is kind of a longer video, just me talking about the knife. I will edit this, so hopefully I can cut it down. But it has a short blade, kind of like this. Again, it has the pommel, and it has, an encapsulated handle. So this does remind me and look like the Falkneven F1. Again, kind of the same sheath. So as a survival knife, sure, it's got pretty much every feature I would say a good survival knife needs. It does have a pommel. It's a full hang, encapsulated handle. So if it's cold, you're not going to freeze your hand to the steel. Stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about rusting in saltwater environments. It's a decent size, 4-inch blade. You can get a lot done. Scandinavian grind, 90-degree spine, decent thickness. Okay, so on paper, this knife is really good as a survival knife. So we'll give that a pass. And also you can get it in a plastic sheath, so you don't have to worry about maintaining leather and stuff. Tactically, no. And the reason I'd say that is because, first of all, the Scandinavian grind is not really designed to be tactical. It's not really designed to be, you're better off with like the Garberg strong arm. Because also, the Garberg strong arm knives have features that make them both good and bad for different things. The Garberg strong arm is a really bad bushcraft knife, but very good tactically because it has that very broad guard, a rubberized grip. This doesn't have the rubberized grip, and we'll talk about that. It's not, if you try to stab something, it's not really the best grip, so you're probably gonna slide. Really no guard to speak of. So it's just, and also the tip. I mean, if you try to stab something with this, holy crap, it's gonna, this is actually a better tactical knife than this. I mean, when you get down to it. So tactically, just in my opinion, no. This is just no. So survival, sure. Tactical, no. And for the average consumer, do you really have to spend $80 to get just something to cut? I mean, you can get the Mora 2000. That's the problem with this knife, and I complained a lot about that in my initial kind of rant and complaining video when I was out in the woods, which a lot of people seem to agree with me that the knife is way too much. And holding it in my hand, I still kind of think it's too much. I will say the one benefit for this knife is I have this fire steel. Check this out. Okay, it's all smoky now. This thing will take, I mean, this is the best fire knife as far as striking a fire steel I've owned ever. I don't know exactly what it is about it, but I mean, and also I have some fat wood, so basically pine resin, and I scraped it, and then just I hit with I scraped some shavings, hit it with a ferro rod, and it just lit up. So I will say, as a fire knife, this is super duper. Are you going to carry this knife because it can strike a ferro rod real good? You can get that. I mean, if I took a file and went down a few millimeters, I'm going to get the same performance out of my companion if you really put the time in. So, 30 minutes of work, and you're getting, for, $20, you have pretty much the same exact thing. Now, the average consumer, I don't really think you need to spend that much. For people who are like, again, the full tang mindset, yeah, but again, I think if the knife was longer, kind of like the Pathfinder. See, the thing is, the Pathfinder and this knife, I think, are both hit and miss. Pathfinder was trying to be big, be a chopper, but the problem was it wasn't full tang. And I've seen videos where it's broken. When people chop and where they baton, and because it's that 3/4 tang, that might be fine for a small knife, but when you make a big knife designed to chop, then that knife is broken. And then on the other hand, we have a full tang, and they give you a smaller blade. So it's kind of like why they should have matched the Pathfinder blade with this and made it full tang, and it would have been an overall better concept. I just don't understand why this knife is the size it is. Anywho, I do want to kind of wrap this video up because I've been talking for like half an hour. Again, I'm not really sure who this knife is for. I will hang on to it. I'll keep it. There's things about it that bother me. For instance, just the handle I don't like. I'll just get that out of the way. I don't really care for the handle, just simply because it's not, this handle has a rubber texture, and when you grab on, it feels good in the hand. It's kind of, once you hold on to it for a while, it stays warm in your hand. This one doesn't really have that. This one just kind of is cold because it's just plastic. And people say it feels like rubber. It's just plastic. I don't really understand, and there's no rubber on this middle part either. It's kind of hard to see because it's dark out here, but the handle just feels like plastic. I wish they had some kind of rubber, at least in the center, to give you some grip, because it's just not very comfortable. Thing is, with the guard, it's kind of hard to see out here. You can see that this has kind of a double guard. I like the Companion better. It has one pronounced guard to protect your hand from slipping up. It also has the rubber grip, so it's going to be a very small chance of that ever happening. But this is flat, so if I wanted to choke up, which I often do with the Companion, this doesn't dig into my thumb because there's no real guard there. It's just kind of flush. So I can choke up, like that, and it doesn't hurt. It's very comfortable. And when you're using a knife for a long time, you want it to be comfortable. This one, sure, this guard's fine, but up here it's not flush. So if I try to choke up like this, it hurts over time. I mean, it really kind of, literally this knife rubs me the wrong way. Right now, I would say get a Companion. I mean, this knife would fit, again, into the survival thing. If you want a survival knife, and you like all the features about this one, I'd say it is a good knife. I think it's just kind of, again, the knife itself, I don't really know where it fits in. I don't know who it was made for. This knife just kind of feels like the new Star Wars movies, where they don't really add anything to it. They just kind of play up the nostalgia. And people go, yeah, nostalgia. Look, the Millennium Falcon. Look, full tang. Look, oh, it's a Mora full tang. Because everyone's spoken about having this knife for so long, so it's become nostalgic. Just the concept, like it's like freaking Bigfoot. Like it's a myth or a hidden legend or something. And now it's finally here. Oh, look. But overall, I don't know. I would, if I had to choose one knife to use for like hours, definitely Companion. And if I needed a survival knife, maybe. But again, when are we really planning on being a survival situation? So the thing is, what's the chances I'm going to carry this knife? I'm probably going to always carry the Companion. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I'll probably do other videos. It's dark out and I have to turn the light on, so I do apologize for the crappy lighting. So yeah, I do have the Garberg, Mora Garberg, and I'm kind of like 50-50. I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's a good knife, but maybe not for me at this day and age. I'm just not really, the whole survival thing has kind of died out for me. If you've made it this long throughout the whole thing, I'll try to make this video as short as possible. Right now I'm at 35 minutes, so whatever the timestamp is for you, that's what I was able to get it down to. Again, if you want this knife, I would say really kind of think about what you do with the knife, and if you really need all these features and you need the full tang, It's not all it's cracked up to be. Mora companion, really good knife. The Mora Garberg, not a cut above the rest. Take care. Have a good day. Hope you have a good new year, 2018. It's right around the corner. So, yeah. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. So long.